All right, thanks everybody. To introduce our closing speaker, I want to bring an Ohioan up to the stage here who has a lot of history and background with Ken, Mark McGrew.
Closing keynote speaker for Ohio Linux Fest 2014 is Ken Starks. By day, a modest tech support guy, and by night, someone who takes cast-off computers and puts them together for the cast-off kids in his community. Online, he goes by Helios, the day sun who brings light even to those in the shadows. To those who observe more mundane matters, he is someone who fixes things. In some quarters, a fixer is someone who changes the odds in favor of some person or party. For Ken Starks, being a fixer means fixing the imbalance that someone else created so that any person or party can be a winner. To the fixers, only one can be a winner. In the world of Helios, any and all can be winners, because being a winner doesn't mean being the only winner. Ken Starks brings winning to everyone, not just to the favored. For myself, he is a hero. I know from experience what the title hero means. A hero is someone who shows up at the right time, bringing the right solution to a situation. Maybe it involves incredible powers, and maybe not. Sometimes a hero is someone who demonstrates by example. We all have our personal heroes like this. Ken Starks is such a hero to me. And sometimes a hero is someone who actually brings real results to real people who need a hero's help. Ken and the Reglue team have done so much for so many. Like good teachers, they have also learned from their students. With little to no regular experience using a computer, many of these students are essentially blank slates, free to learn their own ways of using the computers they get from Reglue. This frontline experience, observing how the students learn, makes Ken Starks and the Reglue team particularly qualified to talk about Linux and free software on the desktop. Please welcome the fixer, the hero, the man who has brought to so many the freedom that free software is all about, Mr. Ken Starks.
Okay, I guess you just got to be smarter than the button, right? Here we go. My name is Ken Starks, and I do run an organization called Reglue. We started in 2005 after I'd been injured and I was bored to death, and we took a computer apart and I saw that it was an electronic tinker toy. I couldn't even screw it up. So from a couple guys helping me in my house to where we are now, getting ready in December to install our 1700 computer. I come before you today and I want to make sure that each and every one of you actually know that without you, we would not exist. And I mean that. We wouldn't do it. Now, I ask your indulgence for just a minute, because I want to do a little house cleaning. And where's Vance? Vance, where you at?
Vance!
Yeah. No, I just wanted to make, no, you're okay. You're okay. There's a lot of people here, and I just wanted to make sure that you did not tell them I had Aerosmith tickets. Because yeah. I'd like to do a little housekeeping if I could. Take 2 minutes of your time. We always use this time of year to announce our Reglue Volunteer of the Year. Now that's kind of a big deal, because we have a pool of 166 volunteers that work, of course, at their own pleasure, but they do everything that we need them to do to let us do our job. Now, unfortunately, we're in Ohio, and all our volunteers are in Texas, so what am I doing announcing it here? Because the esteemed position of Volunteer of the Year is now in the audience, Mr. Randy Norsworthy. You have no idea what I had to go through to get him in that seat today for him to be here. All right, so when I was first approached, asked to come, I have some speaking issues, that's fine, but I was asked to give a keynote, and I was more than happy to do so. I thought, wow, Ohio Linux Fest, that's a nice thing. So it wasn't too long before Vance sent me the little blurb on the website showing that I was going to keynote, and a really nice little paragraph underneath. And I do want to thank him at this time for using the only picture in existence does not make me look constipated. So here I am scrolling down the, I'm seeing a nice picture, I'm seeing all the nice things they say, but at the very bottom of that screen, there was something else, so I rolled past that, and holy freaking cow, John Mad Dog Hall is presenting Keynote here. Now, I've never been to an Ohio Linux Fest, I don't know how it works, so in my mind, I have to follow Mad Dog on the podium. How do you even frame that in your mind? I mean, I'm like, scared to death. So anyway, I talked to a friend of mine, a good friend of mine in California, Larry Caffiero, who also is known as the free software guy and the Crunchbag guy. And he even said, I can't help you, pal, I don't know what you're going to do. So one of the few times in my life, I was speechless. And I couldn't put it into words, but I was pretty much able to put it together in graphics. Pretty much. Okay. So, Linux has had its challenges on the desktop. Okay, a lot of us work in the server rooms, we work at the help desk, we work in positions where Linux as a desktop is not even an issue. We don't know what's going on. We've been told that it comprises 1% of computer users. Now we're up to 5 and probably 15. That doesn't make any difference because I can show you almost 1,700 kids that use Linux on a day-by-day basis and are even in graduate school now. We're going to talk about that. So I started to research where is all this Linux sucks on the desktop. Let me introduce you to Dr. Evil, only on Slashdot. And I'm going to avoid 30 seconds of awkward silence, and I'm going to read along with you. The meat of it is I never recommend Linux systems as a desktop environment to anyone who isn't a programmer. Even then, they'd be better off on Mac OS or virtual machines to launch Windows or Linux. You gotta be kidding me, right? I mean, by the way, Dr. Evil is not, nobody in here on Slashdot with that last name, is there? Okay, because I'm fixing to hurt his feelings. So, I got to thinking about that, and it's not really a matter of somebody reading that on Slashdot. There's an extremely focused group of people that read that. But when that gets out into the wild, where mom and dad, sister and brother, cousin and niece can read that, it's said in such an authoritarian way, it must be true. So that's one of the things that we've banged our head against. But I think Dr. Evil really should have, before he said that, talked to Richard and Brandy Maldonado and their mom, Rose. I don't know if you can see it on there. I met these kids and their mother in 2008. Actually, a next door neighbor who knew a friend of mine talked to him, then got a hold of me and said, look, there's this mom working 2 jobs, no father in the picture. These are brilliant children, and they really need some help. So that's what we do. So I got my car loaded up, and I made the trip to Kyle, Texas. It's a room that's about as big as, or it's a town about as big as this room. And I made the visit. And what I found was 2 amazing children. Now, one of them is a junior in high school at the time. That would be Richard. Brandy was just getting ready to enter her senior year in high school. Fast forward to today, Richard has completed college. He has his bachelor degree in justice and is now a probation officer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. What makes Richard a little unique, even as a probation officer, is that he has set up a small clinic on his own money to bring in 6 at-risk children twice a week to a little facility that he's built, and he's built it using Linux. I know he did because I went and sat the computer. That's a long drive. But I was so proud to know this guy, right? That the only thing that could really eclipse what he's done was he was actually outdone by his sister, Brandy, with a Y. She wanted me to make sure you knew it was with a Y. Is now in her 2nd year of her graduate studies at Johns Hopkins University. She got a free ride. She has to pay very little. But we made sure that Brandy had a brand new computer that we bought from System 76 for her to go to college on. We had a lot of kind of nice stuff, but I wanted her to go to graduate school with something that could handle the horsepower, because Brandy is studying, I want to get it right, biomedical engineering. There's a reason for that, and I'm going to tell you. The closest thing to a father that Brandy ever had was an uncle. And he came home from Afghanistan missing an arm. This is kind of hard for me to get through. Bear with me. Brandy told Uncle Art, I'm going to build the arm that you use for the rest of your life. And I'll be darned if she isn't doing just that. What an amazing young lady. Brandy will graduate in a couple of years, and hopefully she'll go on to get her doctorate. But Brandy Maldonado is the epitome of what we try to produce when we're giving these kids Reglue computers. Now, her mom is an amazing woman. She's worked 2 jobs so these kids can go to school. But the one thing that Brandy wanted to make sure that I told you is thank you, because without you, there would be none. And I want to applaud you. Thank you. Okay, but we've been asked, Ken, how old is old enough to get a Reglue computer? We don't have anything set in stone. We don't even have a matrix to gauge who makes enough money and who doesn't. We all do this for various reasons on a gut level, because that's where you're going to have to make those decisions. Now, Joe Petrano is a hard-working man. He works 2 jobs so his wife can stay home with all the children. We gave him at the time what was considered to be, in my line, pretty much state-of-the-art stuff for our donations. And it was a nice dual core with 4 gigs of RAM, and the only problem we had was a CRT monitor, and those, don't even get me started. So he called me out. I get a call from Eloisa, and she said, you told me that when our computer got old and wasn't working anymore, to call you. I said, okay. Now, let me backtrack just a little bit to let you know how important this is. Once a Reglue kid, always a Reglue kid. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what your situation is. We're going to see that one child all the way through school, even if it's through graduate school. So I went to Joe to see him the first time in 2010, and he very modest government housing, if you would, and that was very clean, 2-room apartment, bedroom, 1 bedroom, and 1 kitchen that acted as a dining room, and all of these people fit into there. So Joe sat me down on the couch and said, asked me what the prerequisites were, and I said, well, to be honest with you, Joe, I think your kids are a little too young right now to really benefit from what we had to offer. And he looked down at the coffee table and he nodded and he chewed his lip for a minute, and then he reached underneath a magazine and he handed me a piece of paper. What that piece of paper stated was that his oldest boy in the top picture, all the way to the left, is a mathematic prodigy, and that he had been accepted for the Prometheus Learning Project at the University of Texas, where the kids spend half the day at school and then half the day at home. Pardon me for my voice being. So I could not tell Joe no, because the last thing he said to me before I made my decision was, I don't want my boy to grow up as stupid as me. And I don't know how stupid Joe is because it worked. I gave the kids a So we've got a child prodigy, and actually his name is Armando, but he's called Tony, and I couldn't say no to them, and I couldn't say no again when I came to see them in the bottom picture. I mean, the kids, obviously they're well fed, they all grew, and that's a family picture before and after, and they're living, they actually had enough money to buy their own home. I don't care about that. Once a Reglue kid, always a Reglue kid. So we get wrapped up, and you should have seen this computer. Yeah, I could knit a sweater from the stuff that was inside of it. I mean, Joe, get a can of air or something, holy cow. So anyway, we wrap up, I get their new computer set up, they got a nice 22-inch HP monitor. Armando's already kicking Tuck's mass butt, and the other two are fighting, wanting to get on it. And Eloisa pulled on my shirt as I was leaving the house. She said, I fixed you a sandwich for on the way home. And I don't want to keep your Tupperware. She said, no, mail it back to me if you feel like that, but eat it only on the way home. No. Okay? Bologna and cheese sandwich, I'll take that any day. So I'm driving home, and I'm on I-35 heading into Round Rock, and I heard a bologna and cheese sandwich calling my name. So I got the box, put it in my lap, and I looked, there's bread cut in half. I picked a piece up, and it's 2 pieces of bread. There's no sandwich in there. There was 3 $100 bills. And she had paid for us to do that. And I emailed her later, and I said, you didn't have to do that. And she goes, put a computer or 2 in another kid's home. It's an absolutely amazing way to spend my time. By the way, I don't make any money. I'm disabled, retired, and I'm just the figurehead more than anything else. It's people like Randy, people like Alan Dacey, you'll see him shortly. It's the over 100 people that let us do what we do, because without them, it would not be possible. So, in everything that we do, we always try to include the community. Does anybody recognize the name Bruno Nabin? Bruno is my hero. When I first picked up Linux in 2004, Bruno was the lead guy on Scott's newsletter, which did nothing but Linux. Okay. Bruno Nabin answered 40,000 questions in his time within that website. Now, aside from that, he tutored me in programming, starting with Python. I mean, I know what an IDE is now, but he took his time living in Holland to teach me about Linux. Not only did he do that with me, he did it with hundreds of other people. Bruno passed from brain cancer a few years ago, and before he died, we set up a 25 computer learning lab in East Austin where all the kids can go and use a computer a couple hours a day under adult supervision. And I was so happy to be able to email Bruno before he died and say, here's your legacy, pal. And I've never been happier in my life than to do that. Now I said volunteers. Wow, who is this guy? The amazing Kristen. Now this is a picture I pulled off the web. The man's name is Alan Dacey Jr. Who is he? Nobody more important than you and I. Why he's here is important. We have a distribution that we use based on KDE. One of the games that we have is called World of Goo. Now, World of Goo only works if I can get it to install. All of a sudden, the deb file, I was pulling dependency errors left and right. So I get hold of Kyle Gabler, who is one of the two members that make up 2D Boy. In fact, I'm proud to say that I broke the story about them releasing their game under Linux. So I said, Kyle, who's your Linux guy? He goes, well, right now you are. Okay, let our guy quit. Freaking great, right? So I'm active on G+, Google+, and that's what I call Facebook for nerds. And I put it out there that I was having these problems because I know like 10,000 people that could probably fix this. Within an hour, he had not only contacted me back, he had fixed the problem. He wrote a script that automatically went out and found those dependencies, fixed it, and then as long as the folder was in the same directory, it would go ahead and phone home and install the World of Goo. Anybody here know World of Goo? Have you ever played it? Yeah. Oh, holy cow, it's amazing. Yeah, easy. Wait till the 9th level. I had hair before the 9th level. I don't do anything all that special. You guys, I don't care if you just answer a question in the forum. I don't care if you provide badges to the kernel. Everything you do, every person in here, all that funnels down into my pool, and I call that the sea of Linux. And I use that to make a kid's life just a little richer and allow them to compete for grades, SAT scores, and ultimately in college and life. Now, I want to make sure that you all know Linux does not have a problem with these kids. When I go in and I'm setting up the computer, I got kids trying to elbow me out of the way. I got this, you know. See an icon, click an icon, stuff happens, right? I mean, it's just that easy. These kids don't care about Linux, they don't care about Windows, Mac. They care about, I have a computer, I'm going to make this work for me. So all the religious wars, they get thrown to the side because these kids had a computer. Now the parents, no, that's not the same story altogether. Sometimes we got a live-in boyfriend who sits around the computer all day and plays World of Warcraft until he finds out that World of Warcraft doesn't work on little Susie's computer. So contacts a friend brings over a cracked copy of Windows 7. Susie comes home and says, where's Tux Math? Where's my algebra app? Sorry, kid. You know, so now they have to sign a piece of paper saying that if you put Windows on this, we'll no longer support it. And as though that sounds a little cruel, it stopped that problem almost completely. So my time is over because my voice is almost non-existent. I want to thank you for making me feel so welcome in Columbus. I want to thank each and every one of you because a lot of you have come up to me and tugged on my sleeve because I know you. You've been to the post office? So I am more than willing to answer questions or leave, just depending on what y'all want to do. So, who's got any questions for me? Yes. No,
hi.
You.
You mentioned that you put your own distribution on it with KD. Like, is that distribution available to download, or is it something you rolled yourself, or
No,
what?
it will be. Randy's got it on Mega. Actually, Randy knows where they created those respins of KDE Mint that has our programs on it. And yes, I'll try to get you that link. Or join GPAWS and look me up. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't have that with me right now.
Is it more geared towards like kid friendly, like ages? Like, could you
most
put an
simply-
age range on it? Because
Right. We haven't pulled anything out of it. We just added to it.
Oh, okay.
From child's play all the way up to quadratic equation software. You know, the software should help that child all the way through school.
Okay.
It's basically Limit 17 with Debian Jr. and a few other add-ins, Google Earth and some other stuff. So it's just a pattern ISO.
Okay.
Yeah, Randy does all our respin work, and that's why he's king of the hill right now. Because he's amazing. Anybody else?
Randy's also on Google Plus.
Yeah. Can't miss the nose. Sir?
To be able to send you equipment, excuse me, to be able to send you equipment to use in this program, is that all on the webpage?
Yes, it is. At Reglue.org. And I will try to get a link up for that ISO on Reglue.org. But yeah, you can go to Reglue.org and find out just about anything you want to know.
Do you have a slide with your address on it?
Reglue.org.
Sorry.
Sir?
Do you ever plan on having chapters in different states?
I'm sorry?
Do you ever plan on expanding out from Texas?
Oh my gosh, no. I am exhausted. You know, many of you may know that I'm recovering from cancer therapy. Not cancer. We killed the cancer. It's the treatments that kick my butt. You know, so that's why my voice sounds like the cross between a chainsaw cutting through a block of sandpaper. But I want to thank you for your concerns. Kevin?
I just want to add that if you take a look around, you're going to find similar programs. I just the other day called up a guy I know who does the same. He builds computers out of old parts to give to kids. And I cleaned out my office. I ended up with like 5 boxes of stuff. Maybe half of it's crap. I don't know if he can use all of it, but I just called him and said, hey, take it away.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find. We've had a lot of, I'm flattered by the amount of people that have asked me how to start this up on their own. So, you know, it's been rewarding. Anybody else? Oh, funding.
Funding.
Somebody asked me about that earlier. We're funded by, I didn't come up here to ask for money, but we're funded by everybody here. The grants that are available now, they're not discretionary spending grants. They want me to promise and approve that I bought certain things with the money, right? Well, what's good is a car if I can't put fuel in it, right? So, yeah, we're funded by you guys. If you visit Reglue.org, that explains it all. Have I said Reglue.org enough? Okay. Any more questions? Good.
Thanks, Kevin.
How much do I owe you for that? What's your heart? This was kind of a surprise.